Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Nerdy Dads.
Yeah.
I'm here with Dave, and we're here to talk about sports and sports, particularly for our children. And this is something that Dave is very passionate about sports. Growing up, I did play some sports, but not as passionate as David. All right, so Dave, tell us more about this.
Yeah. So yeah, when I start, I'll actually start from like probably 2 years ago. So that's when the elder one, Martin, he actually start like he's been playing soccer, he's been like doing a bit of martial arts, he's been doing all kind of things, but um like he was later on, he's more into basketball. And I'm quite interested in basketball myself, like for many years. And so when he gets into like the team, they form a team and they start playing comps. That's when things really get interesting for the parents. Like, because before that point, it's more like just play dates,
Yeah,
and the kids will just go train, and they have a good time.
it's very unstructured, like let them play. Like some, yeah, and that's where I am at the moment, right?
Yeah, yeah. The moment when they join a competition, like from a parent's perspective, for the kids as well. But I think more for the parents, that changes the entire thing. Like Yvette, like mom, like Martha's mom, she was never really into sports. But the moment that she start watching Martin play the comms, like that emotional attachment was so strong.
Yeah.
Like not just for Yvette, but for so many of the other parents, moms and dads alike, like you get emotionally so much attached to it, in a really surprising way. And um, so I think so from that point onwards, we really, try to help Martin with the training. And because I have been playing basketball, I'm actually a relatively good basketball player myself. I used to play for the school team and um, you know, be like, continuing to play over the years as well. So one thing I definitely start to realize is how technology actually
Mhm.
helped to change the game in so many ways.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I just want to share a bit of that. And you did ask a question before about, we're in Australia, sitting in Australia, what are some of like the popular sports? AFL, rugby, they're obviously very popular here, cricket as well. But in terms of kids sports, I would say the most popular one is soccer. And then after that, you get a whole bunch of other sports. So there's team sports and then there's individual sports. So we'll probably focus more on the team sports side of things today, but individual sports like tennis, swimming, um, badminton, etc. In terms of team sports, soccer is the most popular one, and then I think basketball could be second, but like so AFL, rugby, basketball, and cricket, like they are probably the four sports that kind of follow soccer. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I think that has actually changed a lot in recent years. I'd imagine that AFL and rugby were like much more popular in cricket as well. One thing about those sports is the amount of context, and I think as much as some of that's really want to enroll that, I think the mums has a lot more say in that, and they don't want the kid to get injured, and fair enough. So soccer and basketball is still lots of contact, but compared to some of the other sports, relatively less physical kind of tackling, etc. Um, so I'll probably talk today a little bit about how I sense to be some of the key changes in terms of training, what technologies are out there that I find helpful, and I'll also share like the app side of things. So very personal opinionated today as well. Just personal experience, right?
Yeah, and for someone like me, I'm also seeing change in technology on even on a consumer point of view, right? Like even just watching television and like how they film stuff, and now they're because I'm in tech as well, like they are now doing some AR aspect of things, and like they're doing the 360 stuff and like the camera angles, even drones and all of that stuff, right? Like that's all happening at the same time, and obviously data analytics, and so on and so forth, right? So, right,
Yeah, yeah. Like there are different type of technology with different stages of training. Um, like I'll start with the obvious one. So with YouTube, Instagram is actually a huge one in terms of like training material. like just between those two and Facebook to a certain degree as well. But mainly YouTube and Instagram. There's so much amazing training material
Yeah.
on those channels. So whereas compared to many years ago, like everyone has so much limit to the information that they can get access to.
Oh,
But nowadays, like I mean, I'm in Australia, but I can watch some amazing kids train. Like how do they train in the US? What dribbling drills they use, what kind of shooting skills they use, and those kids are kind of trained by some like really high level professionals. A lot of them are just their parents, and so we get to see like how they train. Um, and we can try to apply some of them in our own training stuff for the kids as well. So that's been a huge difference
mm.
because
Passive information, right? Pretty much.
yeah, it's just so accessible and there's so
And
much.
very interactive as well. And like, that's also when like even to an extent, right? Like the coaches themselves creating their own YouTube channels or like ex players now putting more contents out there. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one part. Like from the just uh things got cheaper, right? When I was growing up, to buy like some really good shoes, for example, it is actually really hard to afford. And I think, relatively lucky for us in Australia, um, we can just purchase those, good protective shoes that's good for basketball. And even like back to the basketball itself, we can
Mm.
actually afford some pretty good quality basketball as well at a
Even
relatively lower.
just watching a game, really, growing up, you need to have a cable TV and you have to watch it at that specific point in time. Otherwise, there's no way for you to watch it again.
Yeah. We got NBA TV as well, so we can always just watch a game um, when everyone is free. But I will get into some of the technology. Let me share my screen. So this is um, a game that was played last Saturday. Yep, last Saturday. It was recorded on the court. So this is a like a recording system. So they record every single game. So there's an iPad. So the parents will one of the parents will actually key in like who scored, etc.
Mm.
And it's really cool. It recorded the whole game, obviously. But so this is my younger son. So because his brother is playing, he kind of just automatically just got into basketball as well. This is actually his first point that he scored.
Oh wow, this is so cute. This is so nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's his first point.
Yeah.
But the technology is so cool, right? Because he actually know that he like I didn't need to do anything. So just from that iPad recording thing, he actually figured out, oh, okay, this is the part of the recording that's relevant to Harry's score.
Mm.
They won by some pretty big margin. But before this technology, so 2 years ago, when Martin just stopped playing, I have to kind of do some recording because the recording actually really helps to, I can later on explain to them, like, okay, you're not at the right place here, you maybe should help out, or like, there's so much things that, when he's playing, he's looking at from his angle, but the on-court recording will help him to actually step outside of his personal angle and actually see that how the other players are kind of positioning themselves. So that actually helped a lot. But with this kind of technology, like I don't need to worry about all of that. I can just jump in here and just start to explain, hey, look at
Mm.
this play. This is actually not great. So other than the being able to actually see the scoring, it's so much easier as well for me to just go through the game with him afterwards and kind of explain.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. And again, because sports is a training-based activity, right? It's always like getting better, improving, and so that next time you win, next time you get better. It's iterations based, right? So yeah, having
yeah,
the data points really allows you to be much more structured on how you improve. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Like, we look at like the professional teams. There's obviously even more investment on data side of things. Like, there's certain things that a person could do to help improve their shooting percentage by maybe 2 or 3 percentage points, just with like some simple actions. So, and that's all reflected through the data. And they can get like at that professional level, they get so much out of it. And the game, you can actually see the game actually evolve a lot in the past 10, 15 years as well. And I think data has got a lot to do with it as well. But back to His game. So the this is not available in all the courts, but I think a lot of them are planning to roll it out as well. So this is one of the stadium where they do have it. So I just absolutely loved it. I think it's incredible. I would talk a little bit about another thing. So Home Court is a app like I can actually download from my phone, and it actually have a lot of like interactive stuff. For example, this one, for example, like so the phone, you can actually lay the phone down and you can dribble, and it will actually set challenges for you. Like you have to dribble the ball over there. So this is all through the app itself. The app can also analyze, like like when you're shooting the basketball, is it going at the right trajectory? Like, is it too flat? Is it too high? Like, what's the optimal? So there's a lot of things there are other apps as well, but I think HomeKit is probably the most popular one and very well designed as well. But I actually haven't really been using it. I have been talking to some other dads who has used it a fair bit. I think the consensus is for Martin's age group, which is like 10 and below. It doesn't help them too much, and I actually been trying to steer him away from like trying not to use any apps really, because I think it distracts them. So they might have a flow in training, like they want to do certain drills, but
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is one of those. I'm just basing it off from my experience as well as a IT practitioner, right? Like you don't introduce, let's say, AI coding assistant to a junior developer straight away, right? Like this is I think I'm seeing like it's something like this, right? Like it's something that helps you or amplifies you, but you need to learn the basics first. You need to put in the hours, you need to spend some time doing all the debugging and stuff like that first, right? To a point before you actually go to something like this.
yeah, I think that's a good point as well. I was thinking like there's also like general mental maturity as well. Like every kid is different. This thing will probably work well for some of the kids, like who's got that self control. Like whereas like an app like this for Martin's age group, so I think below 10,
Could
maybe
just
below
be a,
12.
it could just be a target for advertisements, right? Hey, buy this new Nike shoes, or hey, buy Gatorade or something.
Like they just end up playing with the phone rather than focusing on the basketball practice. And yeah, so we were kind of experimenting out with like a lot of drills. And I coming back to what I said at the beginning, it was just that free content that's being shared around the world. I think that's been the most helpful one. So we can go, oh, that looks interesting. Let's try to add that. And like for Martin, for example, we have kind of like a routine. And so we can then fine tune that routine, like continue to try to improve that routine and to so yeah, so that's been very good. And I was talking to some of the other dads as well and moms, and like for Martin's age group, um, I think it's important. Personally, I think it's very important for him to be interested in one of the team sports. So I think that will actually help to guide him towards the teenage years because that could be really challenging as well. So at
Yeah,
some point,
it,
like he won't listen to me anymore. I might go, hey, don't play that iPad or that phone, but it's really out of my control a lot of time. So I think having a team sport will kind of force him to exercise, will force him to try to get better, will force him to communicate with, like, spend time with friends with similar interests, rather than like just being stuck on the device or
that's a really good one, Dave, because if you come to think of it, I have two things to say, right? Like one is as parents, right? We want our kids to be independent. At the same time, we don't want them to be too independent that they don't need you or even won't come to you for any advice or so on, right? But at the same time, but the reality is the kid will be an adult at some point and that will frame their own thinking, make their own decisions and so. So that's why all we can do really is influence, right? And we want to influence them for really, hopefully, at least in our perspective, it's a good, comes with good decisions, good rational, and hopefully get better as well. Whether it's career wise or school wise or anything really, right? And that's why having team sports is beneficial. Like it's not about like, hey, why play basketball? You're not gonna be like LeBron James, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's not that, right? Like, it's like there are
yeah.
other aspects about sports, and team sports?
Oh yeah. I think there's so much like he's learned from sports. Well, so a bit of context to something that just happened yesterday, actually. So in Australia we have clubs. So we have big basketball clubs in the state. There's probably, I think, maybe 8 or 10 of them. And they're located around Sydney. So and every year they have a club representative basketball player trials,
Mm,
so which is called the rep trials. And once you get in, you become the reps player. So Martin just went through the trial, completed it last Sunday, and he got really close this time as well. So we're like, oh, can he get in? Can he not get in? And we just found out about the news yesterday. Like he didn't get in.
mm.
So he doesn't know yet. But so I was, because he's got other things on, so we'll tell him today. So it's one of those like life lessons about he's tried really hard actually for like pretty hard. I wouldn't say really hard. He's tried hard for the last 6 months to prepare himself, like train and physically, mentally, skill wise to kind of be able to actually get in. And he get really close. He knows he get really close. So I think he will be quite disappointed in a way. So and I felt like for him, this is something this is the type of disappointment that he can only get through team sports
Yeah.
for his age, right? Like I can't think of another source where he will actually get this kind of like emotional thing, and then later on he tried, he didn't get it, like that
Yeah.
disappointment.
Maybe around academics, some kids like, oh, they really want to be part of this, let's say, NASA Space Club kid something, right? And then, they try their best, but they didn't get the cut, right? So it's really about investment of time, effort, energy, and
Yeah.
you're gearing towards something that you really, really like, right? Um,
Just- yeah, like academic wise, when you in primary school, you typically don't know where you sit in the school. Like they don't disclose that information. Like the schools here, they don't want that competition between kids. So, like academically, a lot of time, unless you join the like this later on, there's like Olympiads, mass competitions. Unless you do those kind of things, you really don't know where you sit, and it's like the bar of getting in is pretty high as well.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, but other than that, I think sports is a really good way to give them that exposure of like what disappointment feels like. Just because you've really tried really hard on something doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to actually get it. And like, how do you handle it? How do you, yeah,
You know what's reminiscing to me at the moment is because I'm into tech sales at the moment as well. I get a lot of rejection and like ghosting and and so forth. I'm pretty sure because I got used to it already in some way or form before. That's why I don't really give a buzz about it. But it's one of those learning experience, right? That yeah, I mean rejections happen. I spent quite some time building this proposal, this RFPs, and so on and so forth, and then like we didn't get it. Uh, it's that, right? Like the resiliency that you learn when you were young, that not everything that you want happens, and even if you do
yeah,
want it, you need to put an effort in it, and even if you put an effort in it, some things is beyond your control, right?
yeah, definitely. So yeah, the worst part is one of his good friend got in.
Ah,
So
that's even
it's like,
that's even harder.
yeah. So I think we'll have some interesting conversations a bit later today about that as well. So
Yeah,
yeah. So that's all I want to share on the sports front. I think it's great. Technology has got like made things so much better, and it's just good way for like both parents and the kids to kind of get involved in something that's like keeping them healthy and happy. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And again, it's one of those things that at some point, there's no point of really doing AI sports. Like, I don't know. Again, that's probably another topic we can talk about in the future. But like, sports is meant for competition and like, the human aspect for me, or the one you just talked about and stuff like that. But the moment you just, let computers play on their own, like simulate stuff and things like that, like it's a video game, right? It's not like, yeah, like that. Although I
yeah,
would also say that, my team sports of playing video games, Counter Strike and stuff like that with real people back then was also fun,
yeah.
right? I also,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like esports, sitting with your friend in the same physical area, not like online, just online. But yeah, it's like very fun. We can definitely talk about games that like
yeah.
in one of the. one of the later ones as well.
All right, so that wraps up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.